What is up, guys? Welcome back to yet another brand new Major Ben Gaming video. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day as always. Now, slightly different video today. I'm just going to be talking about my opinions on the Nintendo Switch Direct that we have had last week. Obviously, I've had time to sort of think about things and not just rush into making a video about it, but thinking about it and just sort of seeing how I actually feel about what we saw at the Direct, the pricing. We'll briefly touch on the pricing, and then what games we saw and what features the Switch 2 is actually getting. So let's jump straight into it. So pricing wise, I want to briefly touch on that first. Now, obviously it's disappointing in terms of the whole pricing scheme they've gone with here is disappointing. The Switch 2 console cost is obviously increased. I'm personally not too against the price of the console. I actually expected it to be about that. If not slightly more, actually, here in the UK. Again, I'm talking for UK pricing here, but I actually expected the console alone to be upwards of £400, to be honest, but it wasn't. So I actually wasn't too disappointed. Obviously, it would have been nice if it was 300 or 350 or something like that, but that's just not the case. But where it really is annoying is the game prices. I think those are absolutely absurd. I don't think any game warrants more than £70 here in the UK, and unfortunately, that's the way they've gone with Mario Kart. I believe other games are not going to be that, but it just kind of sounds and looks very scummy that they know Mario Kart is their best-selling game and they've just taken that one and thought, I'm going to make it as expensive as possible. And I just don't like that mentality, and it's going to now spread to other companies where they're going to see that this game is this new price, and they're obviously going to bump their own games up. So that's really disappointing, but I don't want this video to be too negative. That's my opinions on it. It's a shame. It sucks. We can't change it now. And that's kind of all I want to say. But going on to talking about the actual event, I thought it was the best Nintendo Direct we've ever had for that console. I thought the stuff that they showed was exactly suited to what I've been wanting. Now, obviously, I play primarily on PlayStation, which isn't going to change, of course. I'm obviously going to always play there. That's my main platform. But I loved the fact that we're getting an actual console manufacturer, so not Steam Deck or ROG Ally or whatever, that is a home console mixed with a dockable home console that's mixed with a handheld. And we're now going to be getting these big titles like Elden Ring, Final Fantasy, Cyberpunk, all these big games, and Hogwarts Legacy, and many more. I'm sure there's going to be so many more announced between now and the launch of the system, and the Switch is actually able to run these. Yet now, I've seen a lot of people complaining about the graphics of the thing. I've seen people say, oh, well, Cyberpunk's running at 30, it's 2025. Why is it not running at 4K 60? It's like, in the end of the day, the PS5 can't do 4K 60 in Cyberpunk. Why were you expecting a handheld system that is this big to run the game at 4K 60? I just find that the whole point of the Switch is, yes, you're going to have to sacrifice something to get these games running on a handheld system. Like the same with the Steam Deck, the same with the ROG Ally. It's not running at best frame rates and stuff. So I don't understand that mentality from people. I think if you were expecting that, you've set yourself up for disappointment. So yes, you're going to have sacrifices. It's going to not run at 4K. It's going to not run at 60. It's going to be 1080p 30 for a lot of these big games like Cyberpunk, or 40 frames. I think there's a performance mode. So you've got to expect with upscaling, it's going to have a hit to resolution on the big TV, but you're not buying it for that. You're buying it for the aspect of taking it portably, having it on a handheld device, and being able to go wherever you like with Cyberpunk, the same save that you play on the big TV. I believe CD Projekt Red normally do something with PC, with like The Witcher, where you can transfer your saves and stuff, and you can kind of carry on, a bit like Steam Deck. So that's cool. But anyway, we're not here for all that stuff. In the end of the day, it's great. For me, it's really appealing to get these big games. The thing I'm most interested in is stuff like Hades, stuff like Silksong, and obviously the exclusive games we'll talk about. But Silksong, Hades, these kind of indie titles that are bigger indie titles are now going to have very comparable versions to PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 5 Pro. Hades 2 may be 4K 120 on PS5, but it's probably going to be 4K 60 docked on Switch. And for me, that is a game where I'd actually buy the Switch version over the PlayStation version because of the fact that I can take it portably and you're not really sacrificing much. And I think in handheld mode, it's still 120 frames. I think Hades 2 is, and I imagine Silksong will be as well. So there is now this kind of there's not going to be a huge difference in some games between PlayStation home console, Xbox home console, and Switch, because obviously they're low powered games. All these indie titles are going to be perfect for the Switch, because you are now not going to, because like you play Hades 1, for example, on the Switch, it looks great on the OLED screen, or you know, whatever, the handheld looks great, but when you put it on the TV, the fact that you're putting it on a 4K LG C1 like I am behind me, it looks pretty poor. So you're not going to have that anymore. You're going to have this insane visual fidelity on all these indie titles, because it's not demanding to do in the end of the day. It's just the Switch can't. The current Switch probably could actually do it if it had a 4K output. It could probably actually do some of these indie titles at much higher resolutions than it does, because it's obviously limited to 1080p. So it's huge that we now have this ability, along with all these other big games coming to the console. Hogwarts Legacy, in my opinion, obviously I've not had hands-on, but looking at these games like Cyberpunk, I thought they looked pretty decent. Yes, you can tell it's running a worse version, like the hair looked pretty bad on Cyberpunk from what I've seen people talk about and seen from the footage, but it's not bad. You look at a PS5 version, yeah, it's running at 60, and you look at, you know, the Switch version, you're like, well, it's actually very comparable. Okay, it's running at 30, but it's not this huge gap. You look at Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1 compared to Switch 2, or even PS5. Hogwarts Legacy on Switch 1 was like, oh god. But now you look at Hogwarts Legacy, and I watched someone's comparison. I can't remember who it was who did it on YouTube, but the Series S with the Switch, really not that far off. And I was pretty impressed. Yes, it's still slightly higher resolution on Series S, and it looks slightly better, but it's like there's not this big, huge parity between these games anymore, and huge difference between these games, and that's really cool. Now, obviously, you have to think about, well, we're only a few years off a new console from Microsoft or a new console from PlayStation, but for now, still, it's really good. It's really good to see that we are getting these big games coming to the system, and I hope that third-party support continues, because that was something that was very evidently clear from the Switch 2 presentation, is third parties are very much here to show up and support this console and bring their games to the platform, and that's something we didn't necessarily have at Switch 1 coming off the back of the Wii U. There wasn't all that third-party support coming into Switch 1, and we are now going to get that. The power is there to be able to do that, and it's kind of good that we've got the Series S, because it shows that, you know, that you're downscaling to the Series S and then downscaling just slightly more to get to the Switch, usually in resolution, and there's not going to be a huge difference between those systems in terms of frame rate and just a slight resolution difference. So that's kind of really, really good news. And it's clear the third-party support was there, because obviously we got that the new FromSoft game that is going to be exclusive to Switch 2, Duskbloods, which looked really, really cool and really interesting. That one is incredibly interesting to me. I'm a huge FromSoft fan. Souls-like in general. Lies of P is probably actually my favorite Souls-like, but I really loved Elden Ring, and Duskbloods looks really, really interesting. So that's one I'm certainly going to dive into, and to be honest, just couldn't believe that was in the presentation, an exclusive FromSoft game for the Switch. Like, that's kind of crazy to me, but exciting, and I'm looking forward to playing that one and diving into it. Now, talking about first party, obviously we saw Mario Kart World. That game looks really cool. I'm looking forward to it. I basically haven't played the most Mario Kart, but when I do play it, I just play it with my girlfriend, and we just, you know, do a load of tracks online competing with people. So I'm really looking forward to that aspect of it, and just having a new Mario Kart game. But it's not the biggest thing in the world. Like, you know, I would have rather a brand new mainline Zelda game or a Mario game, but I'm still very excited to dive into Mario Kart. So that's one I'm looking forward to. Donkey Kong looks cool. I think that's very much Mario Odyssey, but with Donkey Kong and various different ways of you know, destroying the environment. Looks really cool, and you can tell we're in that kind of next gen version of Switch. So that's exciting. I must admit, I am looking forward to playing that game. That's one I'm definitely going to be picking up day one, or whenever it comes out. I don't think it's day one, but I'm looking forward to playing that game. What else did we see there? I think that pack-in title that's not a pack-in title, whatever it's called, where it's kind of like shows you about the console, I really hope they revert back on that and make that at least tied into Nintendo Online. Like, if you've got a Nintendo Online pass, you get that for free, or you make it free, for God's sake. Like, we got Astrobot with a PS5. How can this essentially tutorial game showing you Switch 2 features be paid? Like that? Whew. Bad decision there from Nintendo. Don't know what they're thinking. But other than that, I thought it was really cool. I'm genuinely very excited for this system. I've already got my pre-order in. It looks like I'm going to be getting it day one. You can expect a lot of videos on this system, as well as PlayStation 5 Pro as usual, and PS5, where we test all these games. I'll probably do some side-by-sides as well with different versions of each game, because I'm incredibly interested to see how this thing actually stacks up throughout the years. So plenty of videos to come. We'll do some streams on it day one, just like we did with PS5 Pro. Like, all the usual content and coverage will carry on with PS5 Pro, so don't worry. But I'm still interested in the system and interested in all systems, to be honest. And I'm looking forward to doing some side-by-side comparisons, seeing how this thing stacks up, seeing the difference between handheld and docked. I'm just... Metroid 4K 60 or 1080p or 120 on the TV, or 1080p 60 or 720p 120 in handheld mode. Like, that's crazy to me. Game looks really cool. Mouse mode looks really cool. Like, I'm just genuinely really excited for this thing and looking forward to getting my hands on it to test and play and enjoy. And as I said, a lot of these smaller games I'm probably going to pick up on Switch and play primarily there, because like Hades, I'm going to buy Hades 2. I'm going to buy on Switch over PlayStation, because just the fact that I can take it portably without a huge sacrifice, as I said, is kind of huge, and I really like that aspect of this system. And I'm just in general looking forward to trying out this system and seeing where things go. Like, it's very, very cool. So thank you so much for watching. Please leave a like. Let me know if you're excited. Have you got a pre-order in for the system? Yeah, let me know down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Bye bye for now.